Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Box Seats. I'm your host, Frank Holder. This is the show where we talk about sports with a couple of comedians. The comedians give their take on what's going on in the sports world and things like that. And of course, they've been in the comedy game for such a long time. It's really funny to hear what their take is going to be on the sports world. First up, we got my man, the comedian known as Fig. Fig, how you doing today, young man?
Man, it's a good day. It's a good day. Every day above ground is a good day.
That's what I'm talking about. Next up after that, we got my man, Mr. Rodney Perry, who's able to sit in today too. Rodney Perry, how you doing today, brother? How's everything?
Oh, all is well, Frank. Thank you for asking, man. I'm excited about rocking with y'all for a few minutes.
All right, here's the show. What we're gonna do today. Today, because everybody's not gonna be able to be on the show the whole time, and talent's not here with us today. We're gonna talk. We're gonna jump into some topics rather quickly, more than faster than what we normally would do. But first, I'm gonna give the COVID report like I always do. I don't want to change that part up. And first thing up, man, is I'm gonna throw it out there to you, Fig, and say that I saw this morning that the Olympics have released an official state of emergency for all of the Olympic athletes who are descending into Japan because of the still increased, and I mean increased, like their numbers are ridiculous, people who are catching COVID and things like that. I think they're trying to cover themselves for possible lawsuits and things like that. So since Rodney Perry's not going to be here long, Rodney Perry, I'm going to go with you first, bro. What's your first thoughts?
I mean, we've been talking about this whole thing with the Olympics, people potentially boycotting and things of that nature. And they seem to be flailing. They seem to be trying to find out how to kind of navigate their way. I think the Olympics is going to happen, but, we've seen, with Sha'Carri, man, it matters to these athletes. They've been working and training for the last 4, 5, 8, 10 years. And so the Olympics is going to happen, but I don't know what it's going to look like.
Yeah, I agree with that part. Hey, what's your thoughts?
I'm gonna refer to one of my Rocky episodes, the one with Drago, when he was boxing Apollo Creed and killed him in the ring. And basically what they're saying is, if he dies, he dies.
It is great.
They covering themselves, man. Listen, if somebody asks you to sign a waiver that if something happens to you or if you die or something like that, then it's not our responsibility. Man, this is a slight chance you probably shouldn't go. That's all I'm saying.
Don't even go.
You know, the funny thing is he's absolutely right, because that I think that's what they're trying to get to. I think they're trying to get to the point where they want people to sign documents, but there's certain situations that they can't cover themselves. Like also, there's another story that came out Saturday night, whereas there's a soccer team known as the Dragons. All of their players, here's the thing, Rodney Perry, all their players went to a party that another player was throwing on Saturday night. And the soccer league, the NRL, was so upset. When they first found out about it, they were going to throw 1 or 2 players out, suspend them for a couple of weeks and everything else. But they found out the whole team was gone and everything else. Then there was nothing they could do about it except fine the players. And each player got fined $300,000 for attending the party. So I don't know, Rodney Perry, what's your thoughts on that part, man?
I mean, when I was in the military, they say uniformity prevails. The thing about it is if we all go wrong the same way, then we're right. And so it looks like those players was like, look, we all have to do this. If we're going to go, we all have to go, because they can't get rid of all of us. And it was kind of smart, but the league countered with a big fat piece of money that they're going to take. But I mean, soccer players are like baseball players. They make crazy money. So I don't know what that $300,000 is for them. Is it a lot of money or not? But I could use it.
I know I could. Fig, what's your thoughts about that part?
Rodney is absolutely right, man. There's strength in numbers. If everybody does it, the chances are they're not going to penalize everybody. And that's what I was saying. Believe it or not, on the flip side of this, I was like, yo, man, if just black people decided, you know what, we're not going to the Olympics. And I'm not just talking about black Americans. I'm talking about black people, period. If you have a predominant amount of melanin in your skin and you're brown, and you just said, you know what, let the white people do the Olympics this year without us. I think everybody would change their tune on how they treat black athletes, man. It'd just be a different. And what Rodney said about that money, $300,000 is not a lot of money, especially when they make it $400-500 million. Like
Really?
they make crazy money in soccer, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's interesting. But Rodney, since we got here, Vic was touching on getting ready to touch on the subject I was going to talk about later. But let me talk about this first. Why I got you here, Rodney Perry. I was going to talk about I was going to talk about banning in the Olympics. But Rodney, since I got you here, what's your thoughts last night? We saw the game last night. You saw the game. I saw the game. What's your thoughts last night? Because let me start this conversation out and by saying I was kind of bored. The game was kind of boring to me. Phoenix took it to a whole nother level. I didn't think they were going to take it to. But this is what I did notice. My takeaway from the game, Rodney, you see what you tell me what you think. I think Phoenix Suns backcourt is better than Milwaukee Bucks, but Milwaukee Bucks have a better front court. Their size down low, if they utilize it right, they could win the NBA championship. But right now, since the backcourt of the Phoenix Suns is handling them between Booker and Chris Paul, if they don't get a grip on how to do that, they're going to lose. You know what I mean? And it's two ways to look at that. And this is where I think it comes down to coaching, because coaching can eat. If you coach properly, you always be able to keep the ball in the backcourt's hands. And that's why I think, honestly, I think right now the Phoenix Suns are in the driver's seat, not just because they won game one, but because the way it looks right now to me, their backcourt's better. What you think, Rodney Perry?
I mean, you're absolutely right. The backcourt, it's very clear the backcourt is better. I mean, it was good to see Giannis play. We were iffy if he would play and what he would look like. He looked great. He looked sensational. In the words of Fig, when he went down in the post and backed people down, he's unfreaking stoppable. But he just won't do it. And because of that, even though Milwaukee has the better front court, front court, they don't play like that though, and because of that, they gonna get their ass completely tore off. It might be a sweep. I'm predicting a sweep.
Wow. Okay, Fig.
Man, listen, I'm gonna agree with Rodney on one point. If Coach Budenhauser doesn't change the way that they're playing this game, and they continue to let Brook Lopez guard Chris Paul and Devin Booker. They're gonna be up out of there quick. Here's the thing. These guys are not the greatest 3-point shooters in Phoenix, but they're serviceable. It's nice.
They hit
where
open.
They beat you at,
yeah,
is that where they beat you is that if you try and guard them at the 3-point line and then expect them to be at the rim next, that's not what they're going to do. Chris Paul and Devin Booker are probably probably two of the nicest point guards at shooting that mid-range. Yes. And here's something else. Analytics has gotten these guys to stop playing a full range of basketball. When you shoot the mid-range shot, you put the defense under a lot of pressure. If you're Milwaukee, the only way to win this game is to use your size to your advantage and to slow the game down.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, Rodney Perry, on the flip side of what he's saying, at the end of the day, this was a thing whereas it literally was a coaching thing, because I don't know if you noticed, but the coaching once they seemed to settle down, you know what I mean, by the second quarter, third quarter, once they seemed to settle down, Phoenix started to basically started to pull away from the game. You know what I mean? And then, of course, Milwaukee started to claw back. But let's be honest. If Milwaukee hits half of the shots they missed, it's a much closer game a whole lot earlier on, I think. But, again, it's a front court versus back court type of thing. Rodney, tell me I'm wrong.
I mean, you always hear the fact that this is a make or miss league, right? And they proved that last night. But here goes, man. I just don't know if Milwaukee has the firepower. Aiden was still able to get shots, still able to score. That Brook Lopez matchup is a tough matchup for them when he's on the court. They cannot rotate him out to the top no more. They got to figure out another way to do that. So, like you said, is it coaching? Coaching is always a major factor. When you talk about where personnel ends up. When you're not talking about athletic ability. And how about this? And we talked about it yesterday. I I think this final stinks. It stinks. It
I
stinks
think
to
so.
happen. I don't want to see these two teams play. Get Chris Paul his ring and let's get on out of here and let's watch some golf the rest of the summer.
Yeah, bro, it was really boring to me. I agree with you, Rodney. It was boring. Fig, let me ask you this, man. I'm gonna keep it 100 and ask you this. After the game, I started to think about the game that I just saw, and I noticed one thing too that stood out to me. Here's a big part about this, Fig. I noticed that every single time Phoenix came out of timeout, Phoenix played way better during the game than they came out of the timeout. They settled down. They scored. If they had the ball, they scored. If they were on defense, they were able to get a defensive stop. That was every single time that they came out of timeout. Now, Monty Williams was obviously in the conversation and the topic of being able to, be one of the coach of the years. But I think these black coaches, bro, they standing out and standing up. That's my thoughts. What's your thoughts, Steve?
The thing is that if you're a smart player, when your career is over, it's not a far stretch for you to be a coach, either head coach, assistant coach, whatever. And then you have Chris Paul, who played 16 years as a point guard, and want to be one of the more cerebral point guards in the game. You get those two guys on your bench, and they're telling these young guys what it is to do. Clearly, Phoenix players have the athletic ability to be able to execute what Monty Williams and Chris Paul is telling them. And then Chris Paul is leading by example. They're just playing with a lot of confidence, and confidence is major when you're in a sporting event. If you're confident, that is a major contributing factor to you being able to do what it is that you do. And they're just executing better. They just are. They're talented, athletic, and then just the execution of what it is that they're trying to do, it just seems flawless.
Yeah, but Rodney Perry, according to what Fig said, executing is a lot better. But how you have a team that has 3 7-footers, right? And I mean 3, because Milwaukee got 3. How you have this team of 3 7-footers and you lose game 1 in the NBA Finals and you're not packed down low? I don't understand. I mean, I swear sometimes I want to read through the TV and strangle the Milwaukee Bucks head coach, because I'm like, dude, what are you doing? I just don't understand it. I don't see. Pack the ball. Don't shoot. My point is this is what I would do, Rodney. Don't shoot no damn 3-pointers. You bring the ball up, get one of these dudes on the box, have Giannis cut through, and do 2-pointers the whole game. Because when you shoot a 3 and you miss, the team's going to take the ball, go down the other end, and 9 times out of 10, they're going to score. Now you're down by 2. If you shoot another 3 and the team takes down and score, now you're down by 4. Because you shot 2 3-pointers, now you're down by 4. That's just if you start out a 0-0.
I mean that's we can all Monday morning quarterback these guys and the decisions they make. They'll go back, they'll look at the film, and they'll figure those things out. I would imagine it's pretty hard to do that real time, when you're dealing with superior athletes. But here goes. The Phoenix Suns are so versatile. If you do step out, they shoot over you. If you come get them, they go around you. So it's just a bad matchup for Milwaukee right now. But again, it's good to have Giannis back on the court. I say a sweep. It won't be a sweep, man. Giannis is going to show up. He's going to get some games won. And I hear what you're saying, but it's just not fair, because these guys are going to find a way, and then they were a bit off guard, this first game, and Phoenix has been waiting. They've been waiting for these guys.
That's exactly what I was going to say to Fig. I was going to say, man, is it one of those things where as you play so much, because Milwaukee hasn't really had time off, Fig, and Phoenix had time off. You know what I mean? Is it one of those things? Or because they had a week off, you know what I mean? Or is it because basically, was it rust? I don't know. What was it? I mean, game 1, especially in this playoff series this year, game 1 has showed that it really is not, you don't really see too much in game 1. So are we like what Rodney Perry said, Fig, are we Monday morning quarterbacking this thing?
No, I mean, listen, Budenholzer and the Bucks, they had a good 4 to 5 days off since the final, since the Eastern Conference final game. So they had enough. And you've seen Phoenix before. You know what they do. They're running gun. You know what I mean? They're going to pick and roll you. They're going to try and get Ayton to the basket. He played. Ayton is a big man. He plays like a big man. There goes your analytics. He's not shooting threes, no real mid-range jumpers and stuff like that. I mean, unless he have to at the end of the clock. But for the most part, Ayton is rebounding. He's blocking the paint. He's blocking shots, and he's getting dunks off of lobs, and he's playing inside like a big man should. That's basically it. And here's the thing: if you want to combat that, as the Bucks should, you have a bigger, stronger team. Then what you do, you use what you use to your advantage. You out-muscle them. Lopez is big, strong. Giannis is big. They got the boy with the big eyes, man. 6'10". I can't think. He used to play for the Knicks, man. Play for the Bucks. He's big. He can play in the paint. And then you got Holiday, which nobody can stop. Devin Booker can't stop him. Chris Paul can't stop Holiday if he takes the ball to the basket. I'm like, they just playing stupid basketball to me.
Yeah, they are. Now, let me change the subject since we don't got Rodney Perry here. We're going to come back to this when Rodney Perry leaves. We come back to this game and talk about this. Rodney, man, there's another instance thing that jumped up off during the game that has been hovering in the NBA for the last couple of days, and I want to get your opinion on this before you bounce. There's an issue that's been going on that's been talked about between Rachel Nichols and Malika. What's Malika's last name?
Andrews, I think.
Yeah, Rachel Nichols and Malika Andrews. This has been an issue that's been going on. I don't know if you noticed this, but over the weekend, Rachel Nichols had made a comment weeks ago, and one of the producers ended up recording her conversation and then brought it to ESPN, execs and everything else, and then threatened to release it online. Now, Rodney, Malika Andrews is black, Rachel Nichols is white, but Rachel Nichols is for the black community, hands down. Let's keep it 100. She's for the black community. Okay, I'm gonna give you your opinion in a second. She said that she didn't like the fact that ESPN was going to put Malika basically on the sideline, or at least have a conversation about that, because she felt it was stepping on her toes, and ESPN was buckling because of diversity pressure. And that's all she said. She didn't say anything more or less. Now, I like Rachel Nichols. I'm a Rachel Nichols fan, but I really like Malika Andrews. Malika Andrews is a beast. Like, to be so young and to be on that chick is a beast. But that's my opinion. What's your opinion on ESPN doing what they did? They took Rachel Nichols off the sideline. She was a sideline reporter for the game. They took her off, and if you noticed last night, Malika Andrews was her first time being a sideline reporter for the NBA Finals, when it's been Rachel Nichols' job for a while. What's your thoughts on this, Rodney?
Okay, man. When I first read the story, they were saying that Rachel Nichols had said something racial, and when I looked at it, it didn't feel racial to me. It felt like a woman that just lost her, that lost a job she thought she should have. And here goes, man. And to Rachel and anybody else, the NBA and the NFL does what it wants to do. Period. And you don't like it, you just gonna have to get over it, man. I think see, to me, for the NBA, it's a woman. Give me a girl to do the court thing, and they go get a girl. Well, Rachel always does it. Well, let that black girl do it, because we double up on it. We get a girl and a black girl. So I think it's not an issue where, see, here goes to another idea. When you start talking to feminists, especially white feminists, they're all about girl power and everything until it includes a black girl, right?
Oh, good point.
Rachel Nichols should have publicly said, which she didn't get a chance to do because somebody recorded her, but don't say nothing, because you got to assume you've been recorded. You're on a set somewhere. So Rachel Nichols should have been like, you know what? I'm happy for Malika. Well done, sis, and you'll do great. That's what she should have said publicly. But again, she didn't get that opportunity. But the reality is that her feelings were hurt at the time, and she felt some type of way that this young lady got a job she thought she'd have. But how about this? Rachel Nichols had last year. She had the year before that, and people change. So good luck to Miss Andrews, man. I want to see her do well. And did you see Steven Jackson weighed in on this? Because a lot of the NBA guys like Rachel. You know, they like her. They like her as a human being. And but I think if you black, you know, you got to stand down and let this black girl do her thing.
Right. But in the flip side of this, and I'm gonna throw it to Fig. On the flip side of this, let's be 100. If it's me, it's you, Fig, or it's Rodney Perry, right? And somebody is coming up, and you can see that your job likes this somebody a lot too, and they get ready to take some of your responsibility away. Ain't nobody gonna like that. I don't care if you black, white, pink, or purple. To me, it's not a black or white issue. If somebody's taking away some of your responsibility that you've been doing for a long time, and let's be honest, you're coveted amongst those people, and it's the NBA. You get first right to talk to the NBA players. You're on the court. You got relationships with them and everything else. You are going to feel some kind of way. And she was expressing, I don't think she was saying anything, you know, anything bad about that. She was expressing, saying, listen, I don't like the fact that the NBA, the ESPN is feeling pressure, and then they may take some of my responsibilities away. And she also said in the same conversation when they were recording her, I ain't got nothing against Malika. She's good, but they're taking away some of my job responsibility.
That woman name ain't no Malika. It's Maria. I was thinking about that.
No, you're talking about because you know what's funny? Malika Andrews is doing the sideline, but it started out with Maria Taylor.
Yeah, it did.
That's the original story.
That's the original story, Maria Taylor.
Right.
Now, here's the funny thing.
We'll go back to that in a second, but go ahead, Fig. What you going to say?
Yeah, here's the funny thing is that Maria Taylor was supposed to do it, and Rachel Nichols was sort of complaining about, you know, her losing her position, and neither one of these girls is on the sideline because now it's Malika Andrews.
So that's what it is. So wait,
it's kind of, yeah, it's kind of funny.
Started off, am I right? The original controversy with what Rachel said, Maria Taylor, and it's like, all right, none of you bitches get it.
No, what it really was is because Rachel and Maria couldn't even interact on camera together. That's what the real problem was. They always had to do cutaways and stuff like that. Yeah, that's what it was.
Neither one of y'all get the job.
You know, the funny thing about this is that what we, you know, we're invested in the sports side of it. The funny thing about it is what people don't realize is that ESPN is corporate America.
Yes.
So now we're talking about a corporate world, and we're talking about, you know, people jockeying for position in corporate America. And that's exactly what this is. It just happens to spill over into sports because it's ESPN, which is still corporate America. So corporate America is pretty much cutthroat. We know that. It's not just because it's ESPN and it's sports and it's women and stuff like that. Look, everybody is fine with equality until they come for the food that's on your plate. Yeah. And that's basically what this is.
And isn't it also Maria Taylor? Wasn't she an athlete?
Yes, Maria Taylor.
Yeah, Maria Taylor played ball.
Yes, yeah. But Rodney, since we don't have a lot of time with you, let me ask you this next. I want to talk about this next topic because me and Fig are going to talk about this again. We're going to circle back on this and everything else. We talked about Sha'Carri Richardson being out yesterday and everything. We talked about that, but the Fig hit the nail on the head, a little bit too early. Because I was going to bring up this point that started with some of the Olympic athletes that started to talk about this, whereas this is quiet rumbling of Olympic athletes are having a conversation about boycotting the Olympics. And then the Olympics, the same black athletes now have then turned around and flipped in the next 12 hours and said, listen, we don't want you all to boycott because we're thinking about it. We want Black America to now watch the Olympics because what started happening now turned into it quickly is now Black America has decided they're going to tune and not tune in the Olympics at all as a boycott to be behind Sha'Carri Richardson. What's your thoughts on should Black America watch the Olympics or what? What you think?
I mean, here goes, man. I definitely saw. I think what we're seeing is the AOC. That's the name of the committee, the
IOC, right?
IOC is just heading off what they perceive is going to happen at the pass. So they got all these ads with black athletes going, "Yo, watch the Olympics," and so I think they perceive looking down the line, having the forethought enough to go, "Yo, this could be a problem if we don't deal with this now." And so I think we are seeing them deal with it now. Should we watch the Olympics? I think so. If the Olympics have went through everything it's went through, and we got people like Sha'Carri out there running, we got a lot of great black athletes running. I'm gonna watch it, because I want to see guys flourish on the world stage and see somebody's life change. So I personally am gonna watch it, but I can speak for Black America. The reality is that Sha'Carri is going to run, and have y'all seen the petition to get her there earlier? There's 1 million signatures on a petition to get Sha'Carri into the Olympics from day one.
Yeah, but let's be honest too, Fig. If all the Black Olympians who are in the Olympics right now, if they all stood behind Sha'Carri right now and they said, "Listen, we're not competing and everything else until you all handle this situation and everything else," Sha'Carri would be on the team, because the exact same. Let's be honest. The exact same thing that Michael Phelps went under, Sha'Carri went under, and Michael Phelps got a chance to compete. It ain't no big difference. He was caught with marijuana in his blood test, everything else. He was able to compete. Now,
no, he was going on video smoking it.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to say that it's not one way or another, but this is clearly a black or white type of thing, Rodney. I'm sorry, bro.
You think so? I mean, I don't know. I mean, somebody and I had this conversation about Michael Phelps, but apparently that was a different scenario. I mean, and he wasn't never tested, if I'm not mistaken. Like Fig said, I think he was seen like on a video smoking, but he wasn't in competition at the time, and so I don't know. I really hate to expound on stuff I'm not really educated about.
You know what, though? You're right. He was never officially tested and got caught tested. But Fig, that's worse. Sha'Carri admitted to what she got caught with on camera. I mean, she admitted on camera that she failed a drug test. But Michael Phelps was caught on and seen on camera smoking weed. So if you hold the two up, Fig, what's worse? Being seen the test results or being caught on camera smoking weed? That's what am I tripping?
Michael Phelps had a lot of endorsements at the time. That wasn't his first trip to the Olympics. He had already, been there and won a couple of times, and then he got caught smoking a bong. I said somebody that was at the party or one of the friends caught him smoking a bong. They took a video of it, and then clearly they released it for money. This young lady, as a matter of fact, she said she didn't even smoke it. She said what they found in her system had something to do with edibles that she had taken. So they gave her a 30-day suspension. The Olympics doesn't start until August. I mean, if my math is correct, her 30-day suspension should be up way before she has to compete. So why suspend this young lady? And that's not even the only issue. There was an issue about black swimmers because of their hair. They had these bigger swim hats, and the IOC was against the bigger swim hats. They wanted to take this young lady medal away because when the national anthem was played, she on the podium, she turned her back. I mean, it's just one thing after another, and it's just like the IOC doesn't have a pulse on what is happening with athletes of color, and they seem deaf and blind to what it is that we go through and what's going on, and their hand of what they call punishment just seems to be heavier when it comes to us. And for that, I'm like, listen, I want to see how people do good always 100%. But if it's like that, and I'm really not interested.
Yeah,
I'll back out.
So Fig, Rodney Perry, what were you gonna say?
No, man. I was gonna say something, but I forgot. I gotta go. Hey guys, always a pleasure. Box seats #1. I gotta run, man. Talk to y'all a couple days.
All right, thanks, Rodney Perry.
Appreciate you, Rodney.
All right, so let me go to the Fig. So Fig, my thing is, I always say to people, we all got to stand together, or we gonna fall apart. That's what I always say. Now, I'm for the boycott Olympics. I've been looking at some of the comments that people are sitting up here saying. I'm gonna bring in some people on this comment thing and see what they saying and everything else, man, and see what their thoughts are. I'm about to hit you all with this link, right? In this link, all I need you to do, if you want to join the conversation, You can jump in, tap in that. I'll bring you in, and we'll have the conversation with you, and then you can say what you want to say. But right now, I'm for all of us, like, because look, I'm not saying that they shouldn't compete. I'm saying they all should stand together. They will all lock in together because it'll force the Olympics to make her compete. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying, and until we all stand together, I think we're gonna fall apart. So that's my thought. My thought is nobody say anything, nobody do anything, nobody move anything until they allow Sha'Carri to compete, because Sha'Carri needs to compete. Let's be honest, Fig. Her thought process literally was, I should be all right. I should be fine. The Olympics went through the process. After the Olympics went through the process, what happened? What'd they say? They said, you know what, y'all? She should be eligible. And then they came back around and they said, nah, she ain't eligible. Let me bring in my man, Mr. Amir Silly. Amir, what's going on, bro? You want to join this conversation? Talk to me. Tell me what you think, bro.
Yes, sir. Yes, look, man, I'm pissed off about this whole thing. Excuse me, I'm walking because I gotta come out of my office. But to your point into what you guys are talking about today. Come on, we either we're gonna stand together and really put our weight behind things that are unjust and unfair, or we're not. And the reality of it all in this particular case, based off of even the information that you guys just shared, whether it's Michael Phelps or any other athlete for that matter who's been in the Olympics. You can't utilize the laws and the supposed ways that you want to govern the whole Olympics one way when it comes to people of color, and then govern it a whole different way when it comes to other people. That's just not fair. The fact that this young lady, again, had all of those other things that were happening, at the time when, she supposedly took this medication, or decided to use weed. It is what it is, and we can be upset, or put our minds in the right space regardless. But the bigger thing is, we're talking about a situation where you're on the world stage and you're trying to do everything you can to show up for the world stage. What's the big deal? She didn't use crack. She wasn't selling it or anything like that. It was weed. You know what I mean? So
yeah, and let's be honest. Weed is legal in almost more than half of the United States of America right now. Now, I'm not gonna listen. I could really throw a monkey wrench in this and say in Europe, heroin is legal. They don't test a lot of stuff with heroin with the Olympics. You know what I mean? And we all know that some of those Olympians coming out of Europe, they could be living on that sauce too. You know what I mean? They could be. Not to say that tested for it, but let me bring in another person. See if another person's obviously aspect of this. First of all, hi to Dina. Dina, thank you for joining the show. We appreciate you.
Hi.
How you doing,
You guys can hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. What's your thought, Dina? We're gonna throw it to you. Should Black Americans watch the Olympics, or should they boycott the Olympics in order for everybody to get together and be able to stand in solidarity behind Sha'Carri Richardson? And should we all do that also? What's your thoughts on this, Dina?
Okay. Now, I'm going to say that I don't have a problem with us boycotting. And I know you all don't know me personally, but I was preparing for the Olympics in the 90s, and I got severely hurt. My back was never the same again. So the Olympics is something that is very, very close to my heart. And I don't ever miss the Olympics, right? It means a lot to me personally. But with what I'm seeing, what's happening with not only Sha'Carri, but with the sisters around the world and other countries that are being banned from the Olympics because a group of mostly white people, if not all white people, have decided that they have too much testosterone in their system. And so they can no longer compete because now these little white European girls won't be able to win their medals. We should boycott.
See, Fig, you heard this from a person who was an Olympian. I wish Rodney Perry was still there and hear that too. You hear that? You hear that again? He was a former person trying to be an Olympian, and she thinks we should boycott. Now, if you're watching and you think we shouldn't, please chime in. You see the link? The link is up there too. Chime in. Fig, I'm gonna throw it to you, man. I'm gonna, Dina, you stay there I'm gonna come right back to you in a second. Fig, tell me, give me an argument now of why we should not boycott the Olympics. Tell me what
I absolutely cannot give you an argument as why we should not. I'm 100% all for the boycott because look, I know exactly what Dina is talking about. There's these two young ladies, and they said they had to, and they're women. These are not they're not transgender. These are real women. They said they had too much testosterone, so they want them to compete in the 200 meters, but they got too much testosterone to compete in the 400 meters. Now, add that to all of the stuff that I said previously. I'm like, yo, man, like, what are we talking about here? We're better. That's at the bottom line. We're just better. Boxing, basketball, track and field. You name it. We're just better at it. I mean, anything that we compete at, we just dominate. And the way to get us out of it is to disqualify us based on what? I'm like, yo, man, enough is enough.
But Amir, you know what it did? You see what Fig said? But Amir, you know what this door does now? It opens up the door for the transgender conversation now. You know what I'm saying? Go with this? Because now if you take away so much of the testosterone, you add a little bit so much of the testosterone, and everybody's able to do this. You know what I mean? And now the line, to me, maybe I'm wrong. I'm gonna ask Dina this in a second, but the line is too blurry for me because now you're adding transgenders now who want to say they want to compete in the opposite sex of obviously of what they were originally born to. You got men want now becoming women, and now they got transgender equality. Now they want to compete in the women's issues and everything else. So the line is blurred. I don't know what to do. I don't even know what to watch right now. I'm totally confused. So transgenders are okay, but Olympians who got too much testosterone is not. That's what they saying. Amir, talk to me.
I think, first of all, I think obviously all of these are different issues that need to be addressed. But the big
Okay, we lost. I don't know what happened, but so Dina, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna throw it to you because this is what happens. This is what we at. I want you to answer the same question I just asked him. The line is blurred. The line is blurry. You are a former person who tried out for the Olympics and everything else. They got testosterone issues. The line is blurry. You got people sitting there saying, well, for this, we got to do this. But for that, it's got to be that. You know what I mean? To me, when I say blurry, the line is completely blurred across. And I can't, as a person sitting at home trying to pay attention to the Olympics, trying to even get an idea of what's going on with the athletes who are A-okay to compete and athletes who are not okay to compete, I don't even understand the difference of it. Dina, help me understand. Try to help me understand.
No, I'm totally with you. And for me, it's really hard to say that this isn't about race. I'm drawing a blank on the sister's name, the one from South Africa who's been dominating in the 1500 for years now. And they have finally officially banned her because of other athletes, most of them don't look like her, complaining. It's not fair. It's not fair. Yet the woman, I don't remember if she was from Germany, wherever she was, that initially set the world record way back in the mid 80s, I think it was, or late 80s, that no one could come anywhere near to touching because she ran the 1500s so fast. You look at that woman, now she looked like a dude, but did they test her? Did they make her go through humiliating examinations like they've done to the sister from South Africa, constantly making her prove that she is a woman? No. So I absolutely agree with you. It's like, where are they heading with this? Because and I'm a teacher, right? And so I follow obviously what happens on the K-12 level and how they're allowing a lot of transgender, I'm sorry, men, they're men to me, to compete as girls. So to me, as a woman, what are you saying? Are you trying to eliminate women from sports? Because how can something who was born male now be competing as a female, but an actual female can't compete?
You bring up a lot of great points.
Ding, 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 ding,
you bring up a lot of great points. Let me bring Amir back in because it looks like his connection is working. Amir, you were in mid-sentence. You were saying something that Dina was talking about. Finish your thought.
Again, I think that, like I said, these are all issues that need to be addressed separately. But I think to me the bigger issue is this: seemingly all of a sudden, and maybe I'm wrong, by saying this, I don't ever remember there being this much controversy in terms of the athletes who were supposed to participate in the Olympics. So now all of a sudden, like you said, based off of testosterone, not enough testosterone, too much testosterone. All of a sudden, these are factors that are now coming up and being used as ways to say, you can compete in this, but you can't compete in that. I don't remember that being ever a big thing when it came to the Olympics. Now all of a sudden that's a super big thing, and everybody's going along with this, and we feel okay about this. How? How? It's never been done before. All of a sudden, it's the new thing that everybody's going along with. That doesn't seem strange to anybody.
Yeah, yeah. That's what I honestly. That's what I thought. Dina, I want to thank you for joining the show. I want to see if we get other people in here. Thank you so much for joining the show. Thank you for giving. Thank you for giving us your take as
Thank
an
you, Dina.
Olympian, a person trying to compete for the Olympics. And girl, wow.
Yes.
You know I'm gonna have to call you now. You gotta DM me your number. I'm gonna have to call you so we can do an Olympics show because I had something I wanted to talk about with Sha'Carri. I definitely wanted to talk about Simone Biles. There's a lot of Olympian people we want to talk about. Since you was going for that, we need to have you on as a special guest for the Olympics. Y'all, what we doing? Like, I feel like Dina. I feel like you got me slipping over here. Damn. Thank you, Sora. I appreciate you joining the show. I appreciate you. That's great points. Great point. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
All right, y'all. Amir, I want to give you a sec. Please give me a second. All right, there we go. Let me come back in. Let me bring you guys back in. Let me bring myself back out. Okay, Amir, thank you for joining the show too. We were talking, comedian Fig and I. We were having this conversation earlier about the Rachel Nichols. We were talking about Malika Andrews and everything else. We had this conversation about this too. I want to circle back and bring us around because Fig, I'm gonna throw it out to you. Adam Silver came in and he so-called got involved. Before Amir says what he's gonna say, I want to throw see what you think about Adam Silver, the NBA commissioner. He came in, he weighed in on the Malika Andrews and everything else battle. And I call it a battle because at the end of the day, I thought it was women versus women. It turned into black versus white, women versus women. It's turned into everything else. And Adam Silver came out and said a statement that was so blah. It was so walking down the line. It was so blah. I mean, I can't say another word more than blah. Like, he didn't take a stand. You know what I mean? I don't know if it was because he didn't want to upset the NBA players or not. But my question to you, Fig, is should Adam Silver have come out to an ESPN and take a firm stand? Because this is what I believe. I think he should have came out, took a firm stand, and said, "Listen, ESPN, we license our content to you. We either like what you're doing or we don't like what you're doing, but something needs to be done of what's going on between this Rachel Nichols and Malika Andrews situation, and I don't like it." That's my opinion. He should have done that. What's your thoughts, Fig?
Well, what did he actually say, Frank? Because I didn't hear the quote. What Adam Silver actually said.
Actually, the quote, he said a whole lot of nothing. That's what he basically said. A whole lot of nothing.
Well, listen,
He basically said, it's unfortunate. I'll give it to you exactly what he said. He said it's basically we are in an unusual NBA season, and he said it's very unfortunate that this situation is going on at ESPN, and that's the highlight of the paragraph of what he said. That's the whole highlight. Unfortunate and unusual NBA season. Instead of being an NBA commissioner, listen, you got all the black athletes. They love Rachel Nichols, but you got you got a thing with Malika Andrews, who's black. I mean, take a stand. What's your thoughts?
Here's the thing. It's kind of funny because like the NBA is a separate entity from ESPN. What ESPN does has absolutely nothing to do with the NBA and their business because they're two separate businesses, although they work together as a partnership, just like ESPN and the NFL. You know, ESPN, Major League Baseball. ESPN is in partnership with these sports conglomerates, if you will.
Yeah.
But Adam Silver doesn't have any power over what ESPN does. The funny thing about it is that when a white person speaks out, a white person in power speaks out seemingly against a person of color, this is not the time for that. We're in a different era now, seemingly. It's a new climate. I would call it the post-George Floyd era, where things that people normally got away with before seems to have a sense of heightened sensitivity now than it would previously. So now when a white person says something disparagingly about a person of color, it just sort of comes out as privilege, if you will. You know what I mean? Privilege, supremacy, sort of that racism, like, you can't take my place. sort of thing. And that's
Yeah,
what this looks like.
But Amir, I'm gonna throw it to you. How do I say this? Here's the issue. Here's the underlining issues of everything here that's going on. You got the women versus women issue. You got ESPN, who, like Fig said, it's a conglomerate and everything else. But ESPN, as you know, Amir, ESPN is paying the NBA, right? They're paying the NBA to be able to broadcast their games. The ESPN has they have the say so of who's going to be able to broadcast on their sideline. But here's the caveat that I think that we all need to pay attention to. They ask at the end of every single game, they ask their NBA people, the property of the NBA, whether it's Chris Paul, whether it's LeBron James, can we do an interview with you? And because they have a great relationship with them and everything else, they're allowed to. Matter of fact, I'm willing to bet that after every single game, they're getting these interviews because it's in the contract that
Absolutely.
they're allowed to, they have to get an interview from somebody every single game. Here's the point. Rachel Nichols has been on that sideline after every game doing that. The NBA players have created a kind of relationship and a formal bond, so to speak, with this young lady. If the NBA players kick up and kick against it and say, you know what, we like Malika, but we love Rachel because Rachel does the NBA show that they do and everything else. We want Rachel. You know what I mean? You see issues coming. You see where I'm going with this, Amir? Talk to me.
Well, I think the first thing that we have to really take into consideration, obviously, the commissioner has to unfortunately walk a fine line because the reality of it all is just like Fig, said, we're in a post George Floyd, situation now. So everybody is heightened in terms of their emotions when it comes to black and white issues. That's just a fact. The second part of this is the divvying up of the responsibilities between these two women. Here's the reality of it all. Again, being in a post George, Floyd situation here, things are going to be divvied up. Some people who were in positions of certain positions as prior to this, they may or may not find themselves in those same positions. It's not a personal thing. What everybody is trying to do is scramble to do the best that they can to, from an eye test standpoint, make a stance or appear to make a stance that is conducive to all parties involved. Now, African American community is probably, some of the biggest consumers of the NBA, obviously. That's not to say that there aren't other groups that watch the NBA, because obviously when you see the games, you see every nationality there at the games. But the reality of it all is they, like everybody else, and especially the ESPN company, is trying to do their best to give the perception that they are aware of what's going on in the world, and they want to ensure or make sure that they are doing something that gives the ideology and the perception that they're part of what's going on. Now, it's unfortunate that in this particular case, like you said, Rachel Nichols appears to be the person who is, getting the short end of this. But I want you to really think about the ESPN family as a whole. Not since Stuart Scott passed years ago had they really had another guy. Now, all of them have taken on the persona of Stuart Scott, so we all say cool and hip thing. But if you remember when Stuart Scott first started doing that, they didn't even like that at ESPN. They thought it was a form of clowning and gooning and so forth and so on. The problem is this, and again, this is no knock to anybody. Everybody wants to be us until they have to be us. I know that's a jacked up thing to say, but that's the reality of it all.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be us and wants to all of the bells and whistles and the swag and all this stuff until you have to deal with the consequences of what that really involves or entails. And a lot of us aren't prepared for that part of it. And that's all Rachel Nichols and this particular young lady are going through.
All right, Fig, I'm going to give you the last word, Fig, but I'm going to throw it to you and say that and ask you this question, Fig. If what he said is true, why can't we as Black American reporters, right, do this, get it on our equality of being able to divvy up the responsibilities because we deserve it, not because we got there because of the color of our skin.
But in all actuality, if you're not good, you don't even get the opportunity. You know what it is. You got to be 10 times better, you know what I mean, to even get the opportunity. But here's the funny thing about it is it just dawned on me that all of these young ladies throughout the course of the year get an opportunity to do post-game interviews because they're all in respective areas. Like Malika Andrews, as we're talking about her, my first introduction to her was doing post-game reports when she on the West Coast with Golden State. And that was the first time that I saw this young lady. So throughout the course of the year, you can't have one person interviewing every team because they're all over the country. So these young ladies and men that do these post-game interviews, they do them throughout the course of the year. What she's really arguing about is the ability to be able to do the finals. So I'm imagining that this finals is almost like a bonus. You know what I mean? It's like extra money. Because it's just like the players, if they make it to the playoffs, they get a little bit more money. But if you make it to the finals, you get more money. So what she's arguing about is like, I deserve the opportunity to make more money over this person, or I deserve the opportunity to make more money over that person. And I think what ESPN seems to be trying to do is to be more inclusive and have more inclusion of people of color doing things. And when you do that, equality always seems like it's the enemy of privilege, if you will. Equality is the enemy of privilege.
I'm gonna leave it with this, right? And say this, because we gotta go. I'm gonna leave it with this. Rachel Nichols, it's your own fault, because when the bubble happened last year, you didn't want to go inside the bubble. You let Malika Andrews go inside the bubble. Malika Andrews was in the bubble for 60-some days. People saw how good she was, and guess where she's at now? I didn't say that during the whole show, but I just wanted to drop that. You know how you do a mic drop situation?
Yo, man, listen.
Frank, but you know what?
That mic off the Empire State Building.
You know what's so crazy about that point though, Frank? And again, this is what I mean about everybody wants to be us until you have to be us. She chose to go in, when you think about it, supposedly during the height of all of this, when everybody was scared and afraid. So, Ma, that's a lesson to everybody. If you're going to do the job, then you got to do the job whenever, however it comes. Don't only pick and choose when you want to be able to do the job. And that's what I mean about this whole ideology of, I want to do it, but, you can have that. Don't do that.
Yeah, but that's why you want
right, man.
I want to save it for last. Right. I want to save it last because Fig said it first, like shot from Golden State. That's right. She was only the Golden State reporter in Golden State era. Well, she blew up. Let's be honest. She blew up. We got national attention, and everybody saw how good she was, but she was the only one willing to go in the bubble and do sideline reporting because she did it for all the games. Because if you remember, all the games weren't playing together. They all were right after one of those. She sat there and she did 6-hour, 8-hour, and 12-hour shifts. So kudos to her. So that's what it is. Anyway, y'all, we getting ready to go. What are you going to say, Fig?
No, 2 months in the bubble. 60 days. Yeah. She was in there for 2 months.
Yeah, and pulling 12-hour, 18-hour shifts sometimes. That chick is, listen, let's not forget, that chick is the bomb. I like Rachel Nichols, but Malika Andrews is the bomb. She's the heir apparent. But anyway, Amir, thank you for joining the show, coming in at the last minute. I really appreciate you, brother. I want to thank Rodney Perry for coming in the show. I also want to thank Dina for having the courage to come up and because you know how these females are who watch the show. Their hair ain't done. They don't want to like I
that was great. That was great. She gave some great information too.
Yeah, she did. She really did. She did. Amir, tell everybody out there how they can follow you, bro.
Y'all can follow me on IG, right there, written at the bottom, A-Rock Sealy. You can follow me on on Facebook and on Twitter, just Amir Sealy. I'm around, and I'm always hanging around these gentlemen right here, Box Seats. Best damn talk show from 1 to 2 every day. Here it is.
Hey, Rob, it's your boy FIG at Comedian Fig. You see it right there, people, right there on the screen, at Comedian Fig, all social media platforms. And like Mealy said, Box Seats Monday through Friday, 1 to 2 p.m. This is the best damn sports show on TV. We talk about everything, and we got the best guests.
Yeah, y'all. Thank you again to Amir. Thank you for Dina Washington for joining the show. Thank you to Comedian Fig. Thank you to Rodney Perry joining the show. Thank you for those who sit at home who wanted to do it, and they almost had the courage. They were fixing their hair, and time ran out. Thank you for all y'all watching everything else. Tomorrow, Bill Bellamy joins the show, man. Can't wait to talk to Bill Bellamy about the show. See if he knows sports. Talk about, you know how Bill is. Y'all know how Bill is. We'll see how that whole thing is. We'll see whether he knows his sports or not. And because he did play ball with Michael Jordan once. I know he got that Michael Jordan story. Yeah, we're going to hear about that too. Hey, y'all, this is the show called Box Seats. I'm Frank. We'll see y'all tomorrow. And you know what it is. Peace.
Peace.
Thanks, brothers.